income of the farmers is decreasing because of irrigated area, high use of water and fertilizer farming. Biodiversity is on decline. The rare plants have almost vanished from this area. Our purpose behind organizes the webinar of this theme is to bring awareness about these issues in our student as well as local community. I hope this purpose will be fulfilled by the webinar. Once again, I welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Dr. B. M. Bhanje sir, for your welcome speech, in which you shared your views behind organizing this international webinar. Now I invite the convener of this international webinar, Dr. Dede sir, for his introductory speech.
Good morning to all. Honorable Dias of all dynamic and eminent dignitaries of today's international webinar, organized by Santosh Bhimrao Patil Arts, Commerce and Science College, Mandrup, Taluka South Solapur, Dist, Solapur, Maharashtra, India. Today I am so happy because my institute and college is giving me an opportunity, so I am really glad to meet to all my friends. We are going to choose today's webinar's theme. The purpose behind it is to touch each and every aspect of nature. Nature is multidimensional, and without nature, we can't even think. We are totally dependent on the nature. And so, Kumari Allen Semple says, man is product of nature. So human beings realize about nature. Save nature and save life. Really, thanks to all participants. You are all giving a lot of response. We can't reach the goal of this conference. So once again, thanks to one and all.
Thank you, convener Dr. D.K. Dede sir, to introduce this seminar. Now the main theme of this seminar, the keynote address by former Vice Chancellor, Solapur University, Solapur, Professor Dr. N.N. Maldar sir. We all know about Dr. Maldar sir and his contribution, but still part of this function. Now I request Dr. Murgi sir to introduce today's keynote speaker, Professor Dr. N.N. Maldar.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure and privilege to introduce today's keynote speaker, Professor Dr. N.N. Maldar, sir. We all know that he is a former Vice Chancellor of Ahilyadevi, Holkar, Solapur University, Solapur. Sir's qualification is MSc, PhD, FLASD, Fellow of Arts and Science. Sir has also done an advanced course in Japanese language. He also learns Korean language. Sir was a meritorious student from his elementary education to higher education. Sir worked as a university professor for 24 years. He was a vice chancellor of Solapur University from 11 December 2012 to 10 December 2017 for complete 5 years. Number of PhD students that he has guided is 19, and you are still working under his stable guidance for PhD degree. Sir has got many honors and awards. Some important honors and awards are College Merit Scholarship, Government Industrial Fellowship, National Merit Scholarship, Mandrup Scholarship from Government of Japan, Bharat Jyoti Award 2020, Mohammed National Educational Leadership Award, First State Level Special Educational Leadership Award, and 100 Most Influential Vice Chancellors Award in 2016. Friends,
बंद कर
achieved great heights, scaled great heights. Some of the major achievements of the sir bring people to my well, established post
आवाज होता
established started online entrance exam for PC classes during the entrance stage. He procured 100 desktop and laptop computers. University Solapur Institute Solapur got B grade with the CGPA of 2.62 under his able conduct. He got Solapur Institute Solapur 7 crore grant as general development assistant under 12 5-year plan. दूसरा also approved 20 crore grant. He implemented CBCS system. Sir, he complete computerization of the library. He initiated best college, best principal, best university teacher, and best college teacher awards. Sir initiated various employee welfare schemes also for Solapur University employees. He initiated books schemes, textbooks and reference books worth rupees 1 lakh were given to 40 leading schools annually. He initiated first obvious Khawja degree, Doctor of Science degree, and the first obvious Khawja Doctor of Science degree of the university was conferred on R.A. Marshall, an eminent scientist. He also initiated Lifetime Achievement Award, and the first Lifetime Achievement Award was based on Sri Achyut Bhanje in August 2015. Solapur Institute Solapur was honored with the Best University, Best Program Officer, and Best NSS Auditor Awards in Award 2013, organized at Sri Ramanathan Kumaroda University, Nanded, when Sir was Vice Chancellor of the University. The university also received one award from Government of Maharashtra. Sir is the chairman of Committee of ADC North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon. He is a member of the expert committee on single-use plastic, Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, Government of India, New Delhi. Sir is a member of Heat Fixation Committee of Ahilyadevi. He is a member of Heat Fixation Committee of East Royal City. He is an examiner.
आवाज
And still he is an examiner. For forest operation,
कमी धरसोड बोला
Thank you, Dr. Pulge sir, for a brief introduction. Actually, a technical suggestion to all the participants. When you are not speaking, keep your audio and video off. When a speaker speaks, just ping him so that you can see video as well as audio properly. I request all the members, participants of this webinar to keep your audio and video off. Actually, former Vice Chancellor Dr. N. Maldar sir visited and inaugurated a national seminar 2 years back organized by Department of Geography, and he physically visited our college and encouraged our college. And Maldar sir has again and again helped our college and our institute to prosper and to face the challenges. Now I request former Vice Chancellor, Solapur University, Solapur, Professor Dr. N. Maldar sir, to deliver his keynote address.
परत एकदा विनय हे करा, रिक्वेस्ट करा.
I request former Vice Chancellor Solapur University, Solapur, Professor Dr. Maldar sir, to deliver his keynote address.
Professor Dr. Maldar sir to deliver his keynote address.
Good morning, everyone. Dear participants, resource persons,
गुड मॉर्निंग.
and organizing committee members of the SBP Arts and Commerce College, Solapur. Indeed, I am very happy, and it's my privilege
हे
to be
आवाज वाढू लागेल.
the part of international conference on the environmental changes, biodiversity, and sustainable resource management. The outline of my talk is, I will talk about something environment changes, plastic waste management, biodiversity, resources, and bio-renewable resources. Now,
असं
if you come across
बंद झालं. बंद 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 करा.
when you talk about the everyday life, there are many benefits of the chemical industry. If you look at the slide, what you can see that the benefit of the chemical industry range from the agriculture, automobile, aerospace industries, and environment, as well as the electronic industries. Now, when you talk about the healthcare and the textile industry, once you understand that we have got the better things for better living through the chemistry only. Human needs are always made by high quality life. Now, if you look at that healthcare, you can see the medicines like ibuprofen and other things, whereas in the material sciences and textiles, in the synthetic polymers, we can get the nylons, polyesters, and Teflon, etc. Now, when we really talk about the chemical industry, what happens is there is an image problem. Now, people do not believe the chemicals
झालं
will be good
कर
for
का
us.
थोडस करून प्रॅक्टिस आपण खा ना लवकर लवकर खा. हात धुणे जर प्रॅक्टिस करायची आपल्याला.
There are 48% of the people actually who do not trust the chemical and their effects. Now, if you talk about the hydrogen and oxygen, if you look at that hydrogen, what you see that hydrogen is self-burning, whereas the oxygen helps the burning. And therefore, people think that if you combine hydrogen and the oxygen, what will happen is there will be very great danger. But if you look at that H2O is the water which we consume every day. Now, there is a release of chemicals in the environment. There are about 60% chemicals are found in the air, 20% are in the ground, and whereas 10% on the land and 10% in the water. So the environmental disasters are manifold. The first one was in 1960. We found that the Minamata Bay, the Japanese people, by eating the fish, they were sick. And ultimately they found that there was a deposition of the mercury in the fish. And that deposition of mercury came from the nearby chemical industry. Now coming to the Indian scenario, we have got many environmental problems, but the last big problem is the cleaning of the Ganga river, which is getting polluted because of things. Similarly, India has experienced the Bhopal gas tragedy, wherein the MIC, methyl isocyanate, was released because of the entry of the water into the MIC tank, and there was a big explosion, killing more than 3,000 people. Now, this still the tragedy is continuing there, and therefore many regulations of the environmental were made. And what you can find is that in last 20 years, the growth in the regulation has been increasing so that we can get the clean environment here. Therefore, the people like us, chemists and engineers, must do sure that our whatever products we make, whatever techniques we give to society, they must be economically viable and they must be environmental friendly without any side effects. And this can be achieved by what is called as a green chemistry. In the design of the chemical products and the processes that reduce or eliminate the use of and generation of the hazardous substances is very important thing. Now, this we can be achieving by 12 principles of the green chemistry. First of all is you have to prevent the waste formation. Second is atom economy. It means whatever amount of atoms you put into our chemical reaction, that all should be coming as a product, should not be any byproduct. Very big example is rearrangement reactions and addition reactions. They give the 100% products. Similarly, we have to design safer and less hazardous materials. And also, we have to decrease the amount of solvent and other chemicals what we use for the reaction conditions. The water must be the best solvent we utilize here, and we have to also use renewable feedstock, because the petrochemicals and their uses are diminishing day by day. And we have to also use the catalyst so that we need not use stoichiometric amount of reagent, and one molecule of catalyst should give thousands and lakhs of the products there. So looking at these things, actually, what we have to do is we have to accept the challenges so that we can develop alternate synthetic methods, alternate reaction conditions, and alternate safer chemicals here. So using the green chemistry, what we have to do is we have to start the process of making safer chemical reactions in the early laboratory stage only. And we have to substitute any other solvent like organic solvent by the simple solvent called as water. Now, in this case, most important challenge is we have to get the main product in the good yield with a high purity here. I will give one simple example of preparing the sildenafil nitrate. Now, in this sildenafil citrate, if you look at in 1990s, there was almost 1,800 liters of the solvent utilized to make 1 kilogram of the product. And after 3 years, you can see that 1,800 liters has been decreased to 140 liters per kilograms of the product. Now afterwards, in another 3 years, we got about only 30 liters of the solvent. And if you recycle this, or you can recollect this material, what you can get is you can now get this same product with 10 liters of the solvent, wherein the major dichloromethane has been also avoided here. So look at the things. Now what we can always talk about is less solvent and very, very economical things. The best thing is we can go for the solid state reactions, if it is possible. We also find other alternate processes of the energy which can be very environmental friendly, like microwave energy, ultrasonic energy, or photoactivation materials also. This will save the energy scenario also. Now coming to our polymer and plastic environmental pollution, what I want to talk about is we had Stone Age, Iron Age, Bronze Age, and Plastic Age. Now when you talk about the crude oil, the petroleum, chemical industry uses about 10% of the material here. Whereas the plastic uses only 6%. Now general plastic, what you know every day is polyethylene, polypropylene, polystyrene, PVC. Hello? Other polymers are like polyesters and polyamides. This can be classified as addition polymers or conditioned polymers, or thermoplastic or thermoset. They can also classify as a natural polymer, synthetic polymer. But this polymer and plastics can be, poly means many and mer means parts. Now this has been making a big molecule called as a macromolecule. And you can remember that the first celluloid, that means polymer, which was made by the Alexander Parkes, was semi-synthetic. That means it was derived from the cellulose only. Whereas in 1990, Leo Bakelite made the first reaction of phenol and formaldehyde to give the bakelite that is called as the phenol formaldehyde resin. The true credit for the polymer or macromolecular chemistry goes to the Hermann Schrödinger. Now you can realize this Hermann Schrödinger concept was very, very revolutionary things, and for which he was given Nobel Prize in December 1953. Now, from the beginning, and if you look at today, what we can see that almost 350 million metric tons, that means 35 crore metric tons of plastic is produced today here. And out of this, almost 18 million metric tons of polymers and plastics are made in India. Now, out of this, you can remember that the grocery bags are plastic bags, milk bags, and bottles of the polyethylene and PET are the main visible in your daily life. When you start from the morning, taking to the toothbrush and going to the bathroom, until last night you go make it switch off, that utilizes the switch button, all are made from the plastic here. Now, to give some idea about the quantum of the plastic materials, 10 lakhs of the plastic bottles are used per minute in the world. Now, when you talk about these plastic materials which are causing the pollution, single-use plastic, or you can say disposable plastics or throwaway plastics, which are very simple examples: straw, carry bag, cups, cutlery, and water bottles. Now, the UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program, says that single-use plastics, they are also called as disposable plastics, are utilized only once, and they are recycled or thrown away. Now, we have to see some examples of these things are food packaging, grocery bags, bottles, straws, containers, caps, and cutlery. Now, recently, you can see in the last 4 months, we are fighting with the COVID-19, where the ventilators, sanitizers, PPE kits, masks, face shields, then suits, gloves, and swab making with the plastic stacks and diagnostic kits are all made from the plastics only. And therefore, you can see that plastics are very, very important thing. Now, coming to the plastic bags, which causes the environmental problem, why we use plastic bag? The simple example is they are lightweight, they are low cost, and they are very easy to prepare, and they are attractive. And therefore, the people are using the plastic bags, but the very use of the bags has made the pollution problems. The polymerization is the biggest thing in the history of the mankind, and it is the biggest effect on the everyday life of the plastic here. Now, environmentally, the plastic bags are creating problems, and that is the main culprit here. We use almost 2,000 lakhs of the metric ton plastics in the seawater has been dumped here, and over 30 billion liters of the bottled water is consumed annually. Every second, we throw away about 1,500 bottles, and production of each bottle requires 1.6 liters of the water. Therefore, you can see how many bottles we are producing and how much water we are consuming here. The disadvantage of using the plastic bag is that they are non-degradable and they cause the pollution and they choke the sewage pipes of the things. If they are eaten by the animals, it is very dangerous here. So the plastic waste actually is increasing environmentally, and therefore we are making more and more rules and regulations here. Now remember that more than 25,000 metric tons of the plastic waste per day is generated in the India itself. And we are using 37 million barrels of the oil each year in making the synthetic plastic films. Now, therefore, we have to make plastic waste management. This is example how the good properties of the plastic bags make them non-degradable, and therefore there is, you can see, scenario of the pollution of the plastic bags. Similarly, the plastic bags are being light in the weight. They can be going along the wind and they can reach to the sky and to the trees also. So what the littered plastic, that means the throwaway plastics can do, it is choking of the drainage pipes. You can remember almost 15 years back in the July 26, 2005, there was a heavy rain, about 1,000 mm rain in 24 hours in the Mumbai. And that make the choking of all the drainage pipes by the plastic bags, and city was waterlogged for 3 days. Similarly, there is estimated of 200 million metric tons of the plastic littering in the ocean. If we do not act now, the life of the ocean will also be disturbed. This is example what we can see choking of the drainage pipelines. So what to do? What to do with our kachra, our plastic waste and the garbage? The simple thing is collection, segregation, and putting it appropriately. That means biodegradable, recyclable should be separated, and those which cannot be used should be disposed of. Now we can also take the environmental by different methods and get details later. So what are the possible solutions for this? There are 4 R's, what we call as reduce, restrict or refuse, reuse, recycle, and recover. Now the public participation is must. We have to change the mental attitude of the people how to use the plastics. We have to avoid the use of many plastic products as they may not be useful to us. Or we have to find some new plastic polymers or the biodegradable plastics. The Plast India Foundation has also said that stop littering. People throw away plastics. Plastic don't go anywhere to litter themselves. And similarly, waste disposal should be reused and recycled. Now, what is important is that we have to reuse and make them our daily recycle material. You can see this slide, a beautiful use of waste tires. You can utilize to make the gun and to make the decorative items like this. Similarly, applications of the plastic waste can be converted into our lamps, or you can say the boats, and even making of the printer filaments also. There are many disposable materials which can be recycled here. The one very simple example is you can utilize plastic waste to making the roads. Generally, we utilize tar and the stones to make the roads, but we can add about 10% of the plastic waste bags. This is shown by Vasudevan, who made in 2006 that molten plastic bags can be added to the tar and they last for the longer. Because the plastic does not allow the water or rain to go into the road, and therefore road lasts for the very, very long thing. The Professor Vasudevan is from the Madurai Engineering College. We can also convert the plastic bags into the fuel. For example, Professor Alka Dhargavkar from the Nagpur, she has converted plastic 1 kilograms of the plastic bags into almost 800 ml of the fuel. Now, very recently, last year, the IIT Guwahati, Dr. Pankaj Tiwari also pyrolyzed the plastic waste at about 300 to 400 degrees centigrade using very suitable catalyst to yield low viscosity and high caloric fuel. Now, this will be tested in the engine so that it can be utilized in the fuels. Similarly, we can convert the waste plastics to the energy. There are plants in the Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, and also in the Maharashtra, in Pune, where by the BV Gaikwad or Oncardo Blue, a Thailand company. Now, this can be making the energy of the megawatts and can also make the waste into the fuel plus energy. You can recycle the materials of the plastic by simple mechanical recycling also. Now, there are advantages that this technique is available in the India. It is done at the source itself and suitable for the industrial use also. Now, it is not requiring any of the special equipments also. Now, we can also identify the plastic by simple numberings. Whenever you see any plastic material, you can see at the bottom that can be PET, HDPE, PVC, high density polyethylene, low density polyethylene, or polypropylene or polystyrene. So the numbers are given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, whereas number 1 is polyethylene terephthalate bottle, number 3 is PVC pipe, and number 6 is polystyrene. So we can simply identify and accordingly recycle the material there. Also, we can burn the plastic, but this is not a good method because there are some disadvantages of burning. If you take the polyethylene or polypropylene, there is no problem because burning in the large amount of oxygen use water as well as CO2. But if you take the PVC, we have a problem because it liberates chlorine, dioxide, and furan, and that must be avoided here. Therefore, we can go for the biodegradable materials, which is environment friendly, and it completely decomposes into carbon dioxide and water, and it is environmental friendly. One of my students, Dr. P.V. Jagdale, has converted the waste polyethylene plastics into carbon nanomaterials and tunable wax, which can be utilized by the chemical vapor deposition. We also make the lactic acid from the milk, convert into polylactic acid, and this is a completely biodegradable as well as based on the natural resources. Similarly, we can make the biodegradable materials called as polyhydroxyalkylate by the having very good strength, and these plastic bags can be utilized by the Nodax companies available here. We can also utilize chicken feathers to make the biodegradable plastic materials, and this can be available in the market. Now, Professor Vatrajlu has converted biodegradable plastics because they are expensive and they can be added with the simple natural fibers to make the composites which can be completely biodegradable. Now, the references are also given here. Recently, the reference about the Journal of Polymers, Environmental Science is also shown here, which is of the 22 June 2020. So you can refer to this and get all ideas about the review given on the recycling of the plastics. So ultimately, I will say reduce, reuse, recycle, and recover. These are the four important R. Also, you can make it refuse, replace, refill, and we have to rethink how we can utilize the plastics. So the key to the sustainable plastic industry is promote the responsible manufacturing, promote the responsible consumption. Now, if you look at the India, we plan to phase out single-use plastics by the year 2022. That is our 75th Independence Day of the country. But we also have to give to society some available, economically viable alternatives. Now, this work has been taken into hands by the Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, Ministry of Chemical Fertilizers, Government of India. Now, when you look at the recycling of the plastic, what we look at is that utility of plastic and its adverse impact on the environment. You have to balance both these things and find out which plastic should be phased out. Now, if you look at the plastic materials which are not very essential, that means which have got called as a low utility and high adverse impact, like the small things, cutlery, foam cups, then earbuds, plastic cigarette filters, and thermocol decorative materials, etc. But we have to keep what is called as IV bags, blood bags, disposable syringes, and catheters. These are very important materials which we cannot dispose of. And therefore, what we do is we go for the green. Go green means what? We have to go for the materials based on the renewable materials. Now, these materials are abundant in nature. They are versatile materials. Sometimes they give very good properties. And they are environmentally safety. And therefore, what we call as Nisargam Sharanam Gacchami. So when you take about the resources, petrochemical is depleting, whereas the biomass, we can have the every year making the new things. But generally, we have got cellulose, natural fibers, starch, and polysaccharides, sugars, fats, proteins, etc. And from this, we can make aliphatic as well as aromatic chemicals available, which can be utilized. For example, we can have wood or grass, jute, and then corn, potatoes, sugarcane, waste, etc. So this biomass consumption actually can solve many problems. The important source of the material, what we are going to talk about now is cashew nut shell liquid, CNSL. Everybody likes to eat the cashew nuts. Now, when we are making roasting of the cashew nuts, what we find out is that almost 20% of the oil that is black and viscous and corrosive oil comes out. That is called as CNSL oil. Now, this oil can be converted into cardinal and then into the 3-pentyl phenol. If you look at that scenario of the world, almost 44 lakhs of the tons of the cashew nut oil is available per year. In India, about 7 lakh and 53,000 tons of the CNSL is available. Remember that this is a byproduct. It is not an edible oil, and it is available at very cheap rate of about 25 to 30 rupees per liter. And therefore, you can see we can make use of this cashew nut shell liquid and make many different materials, and this can be environmentally friendly. Now, the composition of CNSL is shown here. You can see it is an anacardic acid cardinal, and on vacuum distillation, we can get almost 62% of the cardinal, which can be utilized further. Now, this is very, very cheap. You can say 30 rupees per liter. Now, we have done many investigations on the CNSL, wherein we have derived many chemicals so that we can utilize them as a different alternative for the petrochemicals here. Now, you can look at that. A lot of CNSL work has been done and is being done. I have given one example here of the 19th December 2019, wherein the cardinal has been utilized to make solution processable, green, small molecule based organic solar cells. That means we can utilize in many different applications. We have also utilized these CNSL derived non-sulfur vulcanizing agents and diamines to make vulcanizers. That means we polymerize the diamines to make the polyimides as shown in reference number 4 here, and it was published in the journal Polymer from the UK. Similarly, we have made non-sulfur vulcanizing agent like a pentadecyl benzoquinone dioxide, and this material was utilized to vulcanize styrene butadiene rubber and to vulcanize the butyl rubber, and the review has been given also. So this was published in the Rubber Chemistry and Technology early days. Now we also have converted the cashew nut shell liquid into the high performance polymer because these polymers are thermally stable, they have got good chemical properties, good mechanical properties, and low flammability. But they have got high melting temperature, Kevlar or Nomex. And therefore, we have made these applications of the high performance polymers into the processable materials. Now, when you introduce the pentadecyl chain in the polymer, the properties become very different. The polymers become soluble. They are moisture resistant because pentadecyl group is the alkyl group. They also impact resistance. They decrease the crystallinity, make the polymer amorphous, and therefore they increase the solution properties, and therefore we can make the polymers processables there. So what we can do is we can have this pentadecyl group as a plasticizer, and therefore we can use the polymers to make like polyamides. Now look at the things. Polyamides like a Kevlar and Nomex, they are high rigid materials and they require very special processing from the sulfuric acid. Whereas what polymers we have made using cashew nut shell liquid can be soluble in the common organic solvent. They have got lower glass temperature and they can be processed by solution or by the thermoforming. The examples have been given here. Now from our laboratory, aromatic polyamides containing pendant pentadecyl substituted materials, monomers were made, and they also contain 1,2,4-triazole and pentadiol units. Now, these polymers were made by the Dr. Aslam Tambodi in our laboratory, and that work has been published in Journal of Polymer Research in 2019, Journal of Material Science and Part A in 2019. So, we are making polyamides, polyimides. Now, the polyimides have been made published in 1984 in 2000 Polymer Journal. Similarly, we also work on the polyesters from the Kashinath cell liquid and also check their antimicrobial activity. CNSL derived arloxyacetic acid and 2,4-D arloxyacetic acid have been prepared by the Dr. Tulvasar. The PEEK is another important polymer, polyether ether ketones. And now these polymers are very important high-performance materials and has been prepared and material has been published in the Material Science and Engineering. This is structure shown as containing amides as well as alcohols, and we can make PEEK from this compound. Now recently, we have carried out very important work for the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. Now ISRO has some requirement of the polymers, and therefore we have developed atomic oxygen and ultra UV resistance polyimides, making these monomers from the Kashinath cell liquid. Now based on this, when we tested these polymers, they have got better property than the commercial Kapton polyimide materials. And these we have developed and given to the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. Based on this, we have got 3 patents. Patent number 279815, patent number 274744, etc. The work was done by Dr. Mridul Mehdi in our laboratory. And it was collaborated with Dr. S. Pakriswamy from the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. Similarly, we can utilize that Tropa plant to make the fuel so that we avoid dependence on the crude oil. Now recently, we want to go for the green, and therefore you can utilize hydrogen car. Now what are the major challenges for the sustainability ahead? If you look at the points here, population, health, environment, energy, global changes, resource depletion, food supply, these are important challenges for our human life sustainability. Now, Earth's resources are limited. But as Mahatma Gandhi said, Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. And therefore, we have to be very moderate and consume everything resource available so that it be sustainable and available for the next generation. For the energy, we can have renewable energy, and for getting the global changes, we have to do research and get the knowledge. And also, we have to make the zero waste here. So we can say that material needs and other can be done. If you look at the research output, what we can see in the last year, we have done that patents have been published about 2,65,000, out of which China has got 59,000, America has got 58,000, Japan has got 52,000, Germany has got 19,000, South Korea has got 19,000. Now look at India. We have got only 2,000 world patents. It is 0.01% of the total 2,65,000. It is only 3% of the China patents. And therefore, what I can say that we must improve doing research and taking patent. Now, if you analyze this data again, for the per 10,000 or 10 lakh people, India has got only 17 patents, whereas South Korea has got 4,450 patents, Japan has got 3,700 patents, and China has got 540 patents per 10 lakh people. Similarly, for the trademark registration, Total registers are 21,800 and India has got only 3 out of these. You can see the source is very recent. Word, industrial, patent and trademarks. Now there are different types of R&D what we can do. Basic research, fundamental research, then industrial research, applied research. But what is important thing is out-of-box thinking, innovative, creative and useful to society. Now we are talking about doing research, so education is very important thing. Now we are getting new educational policy 2020 and it is based on the knowledge and quality education. That means along with the education, you must have the skill also. Now this starts from this year, 2020, and goes for the next 20 years. So the policy has been framed, accepted by the Council of Ministers. Now this work has been done. Now this goes to Parliament now in this month on the 14th of September. There will be discussions and then approval to make it act. Now all the teachers, researchers, we have to study this and know how this education policy will be better for our students and implementees. The big challenge is empowering the entire human race, not only a few selected, lucky and rich people. Now we have to take very certain decisions so as to have sustainability. Professor Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam said, if you want to succeed, then you must take the right decision. He further said, how do you make the right decision? That means you must get the experience. But how do you get the experience? He said that by making the wrong decisions to get the experience. So what is important thing is that you have to make the decisions and make them, they are right. So whenever you want to take decision, you are taking some risk. So therefore people try not to take the risk, not to take the decisions. But I will tell you that willingness not to take the risk and not to take decision is very dangerous because that will stagnation of education. But there are plenty of opportunities, but they are with the challenges. People always say sky is the limit, but I can say that sky is not the limit because you can go to the space. What I would suggest you that all the young researchers do what you love. Whenever you are doing the love work, you enjoy the work and it is not a work for you. So be creative, innovative and useful to society. Now, imbibe the problem solving ability so that we can have thousands of APJ Kalams, Ishais and Satya Nadella in our India itself. I will give 3 examples about the Nobel Prize in chemistry. This is just to motivate young researchers and the distinguished participants that we can achieve something for the invention which will be useful to the world, like column chromatography. So here you can see Martins and the Richard, they obtained this Nobel Prize in 1950, that means 70 years back. Then in 2000, we have Nobel Prize for the conducting polymers by the Alan Hager, Alan McDermott, and H. Silakaba. So this is a very, very good, you can say, invention. Now that means 1950, 2000, and now in 2019, the Nobel Prize was given to John B. Goodenough. He shared the Nobel Prize for his work on the lithium-ion battery in 2019. Now, what is his age? Today he is 97. So remember that learning is from home to tomb. When he was asked, do you go to the work in the laboratory today? He replied, yes. If one retires, it does not mean he should wait to die. So I will say that these 3 Nobel Prizes are good inspiration for all the participants. I will acknowledge the organizing committee of the International Conference, webinar, and also the management of the SBT College of Arts and Science and Commerce, Professor Principal B.M. Bhanje, and Solapur Jilla Samaj Seva Committee. Similarly, I would like to appreciate the work done by Dr. Mridul Medi, Dr. Basharaj Kalseti, Dr. Aslam Tamboli, V.V. Jadhav, R.J. Narapude, Dr. J. Sulba, Dr. M. Syed, and many other my research students and colleagues. The funding agencies like UGC, DST, BRNS, and ISRO, they provided a lot of money to us. Also, we have collaborative work with the Dr. P.P. Vadkaukar, Dr. S. Swami, Dr. A. Vadaraju. And finally, I will thank family also. And family doesn't mean that our neighbors and our things, but it says that father and mother, I love you. So remember that whatever we do is for our family. The work was carried out in the publicity. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable, respected. Excessive use of plastic. We talk about single-use plastic, solid waste management, public participation and awareness. For your valuable guidance and all the participants and community will follow your suggestions and implement in their day-to-day life. In the meantime, senior geographers, Principal Dr. K. Dhanada sir and Professor Dr. Praveen Saptarshi sir have joined this webinar. I welcome you to the senior geographers. Participants, let's go ahead with the second preliminary session from South Korea. Professor Dr. Bhanje sir will address us. Before that, the real background